Welcome to Empire Building. I'm Wendy Papasan, and together with my 4 co-hosts, we bring you weekly unfiltered conversations about leadership, growing a big empire, and living on your own terms.
I'm Kimber Levitt-Keaty. We are investors and wealth builders with over $75 million in combined net worth.
I'm Sarah Reynolds. We are visionaries who built more than 50 businesses with over $122 million in annual revenue.
I'm Tiffany Fikes. We've led thousands of people and do it all while being pretty good moms.
And I'm Seychelle Van Poole. We are your podcast to learn how to build big businesses and even bigger lives.
Hey gang, welcome to another exciting episode of the Empire Building Podcast. I'm your co-host here, Wendy Papasan, and I have the lovely, talented, intelligent, excellent human being, Tiffany Fikes, with me here today. Hello, Miss Tiffany. How are you today?
Hello. What a fun little build-up.
Yeah. Well, you are a fun little build-up. Yeah. Today we're talking about something that actually our listeners have been asking us to write about for, I don't know, a couple years now, and we're finally getting around to it. And we're going to be talking today about how to get paid to speak. So I have been speaking, I don't even know, since I started my real estate career, probably 17 years ago. I would guess that I probably spoke in my office that second year or even third year in real estate. And I guess you're probably the same, Tiffany.
Yeah. I think my first paid gig was probably 2016, so for a decade. But I was definitely speaking in my office after a year in the industry, for sure.
Yeah. I can remember actually Kevin and Fred, if you guys remember, they used to KW, invited me to come to Phoenix to speak. And it was my first time I'd ever spoken outside of my office, and I was absolutely terrified. I actually wrote my Big Business, Bigger Life class for that event. And right before I got there, they said, "Oh, we're so sorry. We're going on vacation. So hopefully it'll be just fine," which normally that is fine. But when it's your first time, I was so nervous. We did a women's mastermind. I was completely terrified. And you know, it worked out. I did it.
And that launched you into a huge career.
I think the real truth around that is I think a lot of people think, oh, I have to be a super expert to become a speaker. I have to prepare. I have to know everything. And really the reality of it is you get ready to speak by speaking.
Yeah.
It's kind of a reps game. So I know for me, when I really crested, I feel like, I don't know, almost by 10,000 hours was during COVID. And I was being asked to speak a lot on Zoom. I probably spoke 100 times that year. That would be my guess. It was probably like twice a week. And that is when I got so comfortable in front of the camera on Zoom speaking. And that was just repetition, just really repetition.
Yeah, because when you start, you really don't know what you're doing, and you have to get your reps and practicing and things like that. So, you know, we're going to talk about how to stair step into paying gigs and what that looks like. But yeah, I want to echo, like, you don't get ready to speak, you speak to get ready.
Yeah.
To go to the next level of your speaking.
Yeah. And that can start with as little as a whiteboard and 5 humans in your office. You know, you don't necessarily need a slide deck. You don't need, like me, I had my signature talk, which I gave for years, Big Business, Bigger Life. But you don't have to have that. You can really just start with something really simple and teach in your own office. And I would literally start with something that you're good at, right? Talk to your team leader and say, hey, can I teach a 20-minute class on Tuesday on how I do buyer consults, or how I do social media, or how I do open houses, or how I follow up with a lead? And pick one thing that you actually do really well and show up. And you don't even need slides if you don't want to, if you don't feel comfortable teaching with slides. Get a whiteboard, get some bullet points, and just pick one thing that you actually do and go out and teach it. And ironically, what's going to happen is you're going to get better at that topic the more you teach it, right?
I actually, it wasn't obviously the first time that I taught. Once you've taught, teach what you're good at. And then the tactic I started taking was I actually signed up to teach the things that I was not great at because I knew that the accountability of having to explain something to somebody is going to make me better at it. So like an example of that was I wanted to improve on my listing presentation. And so it was an idea from my coach, and he was like, all right, you need to go teach listing presentation to 2 different offices around you. And yeah, that makes you better at the thing you're teaching because your ability to explain a concept is solidifying it in your brain. You get out of your head. You have to be very clear.
Well, you have to just know what you're talking about too.
Yeah. Like you have to do enough research and like understanding of the topic that you can speak with authority on it. And so I'm not saying to do this for your paid gigs necessarily, but it's an opportunity that teaching gives you is you can actually improve on something when you choose to teach about it.
Yeah, I love that. And you can choose to speak on something that you want to be known for as well. So for the longest time, I started my real estate business, as did you, when you were a young mom. And I always got asked to speak on getting help, leverage, hiring your first assistant. Like that was kind of what I was known for, which I loved, but I also feel like it kind of pigeoned me as like a mom. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but I really wanted to be known as something different. So I started to speak on wealth building. I started to speak on how to do your financials. And in the same vein, Tiffany, it really helped me become better at those things. So yeah, reminds me of our friend Erin Wheelock.
That's right.
Yeah.
She wanted to get better at numbers and P&L. And so we had her teach at the last Empire Circle retreat because we'd seen her grow in that topic. And then putting her in front of a room of people, she had to up her game. And it was great.
Yeah.
And she did a great job.
Well, so how does someone go from teaching at their office to teaching to another office?
That feels like a huge leap, but it really isn't. It's just like anything you're doing. You're going to ask to do it. So you can send a message to other team leaders, you can call other team leaders and other people that are running real estate offices and just say, hey, I'm an agent in this area and I teach a class on whatever, buyer consult, listing presentation, and it's been helping a lot of agents. And if you need a guest instructor, I'd love to come and share it with your agents.
Yeah. And it's actually sometimes easier to get to be what do they say? It's hard to be a prophet in your own
town. Yeah.
In your own town. Yeah. So sometimes it's easier if you go town over. They will view you as more of an expert because you're not a known quantity to them. And what I love about this is I actually did this at the beginning of the year. So I teach a couple of classes and I reached out to every single regional director in the KW system. And I basically sent, hey, these are the classes I'm teaching. I'd love to help your agents win this year. Here's kind of what I do. And here's what it looks like. I'd love to do it. And I think, I don't know, we have to really raise our hand. I can't really say that enough. I think sometimes we think like, oh, someone's just going to pick us and because we're doing such a great job. Or, I hear people complain like, oh, I didn't get on this stage or, this podcast or whatever that looks like. And really, we do have to raise our hand. And sometimes we have to raise our hand over and over again. And we have to be very loud. And I think that's sometimes very difficult, especially for women to do. We think we should just do a good job and then we will be rewarded. And the reality is that's really not the case,
When I started, I would send that kind of a message anywhere I was going on vacation. So I taught in Costa Rica with that message. I taught in Houston. I taught in Seattle, like a lot of different places because I sent that message where I was already going. And this is when I was brand new, like barely had any experience.
I remember. Did we teach in Seattle together or where did we teach?
I don't remember. I bet it was Seattle.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we taught in Nashville together too.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it doesn't just have to be a town over. You don't have to you're already on an airplane. You're already going there. Add an extra day to your trip and add a teaching gig on top of that too.
Yeah. Then you get to write it off.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, and just think about all your friends that are all over the country, right? One of the good ways to get in maybe is to contact a friend you have in a different city who maybe is a top agent or is involved with the office and say, hey, I'm interested in coming and speaking, and would you talk to your team leader for me? And I know that's probably how I've gotten the majority of my gigs versus even talking to the team leader. It's talking to a top agent there.
Yeah.
Because most of the time, they are just like all of us. They want the easy button. So if you can say, hey, I'm coming, this is what I'm teaching on, they're going to say yes, right?
Yeah.
And then you're putting that on social, right? So you're gaining notoriety. You're asking your friends maybe to amplify you, asking the people in the audience to amplify you. And that's how you build a following for your speaking.
Yeah. And one of the great things about Keller Williams is, Keller Williams is a distribution vehicle for whatever it is that you want to do. You see that with people developing products. It definitely works for your speaking gigs.
Yeah.
Like they want people like you to come. And so like Wendy says, you just raise your hand. And that's one of the huge values we have with Keller Williams is that we have a huge network of people who want to support other Keller Williams agents.
Well, and remember that 70% of the people in your office are not cappers, right? So 70% of the people in your office probably won't even do 15 transactions this year. So if you're doing more than 15 transactions, you're in the top third of all realtors in the world, and you have something to share. That means you're doing something right. And so just figure out what you like to do and what you like to teach, and just raise your hand and do it.
I love it.
I think it's interesting because I raised my hand a lot at the beginning. And of course, I think it helped a lot, obviously, that my husband, helped me get in there. And I don't know, what changed for you when you started to speak more?
Your confidence goes through the roof in speaking in what you're teaching. And it's not immediate. It's not like, oh, I taught once and then I just felt so much more confident. No, like I would spend hours and hours and hours and hours practicing, preparing, getting up and doing my half day or my full day class. And then I would do it all over again the next time and all over again the next time. But, once you've gotten the reps, you can be really confident in what you're saying, in the information you're giving, and being seen as an expert in that field. So that's awesome. And then people start introducing you as an expert in buyer consults or listing presentations or, whatever it is.
You were kind of like the farming guru.
Yeah.
Forever. Yeah.
That came from, I started speaking about it.
Okay.
I spoke about a ton of things, but the farming was something nobody else was talking about, or I don't know what it was, but it resonated with everybody. And so then I just leaned all in on, all right, this is what I speak about, which then just kept saying, oh, she's an expert in farming. And I was getting great results. But yeah, it was because that's what resonated with the audience.
It probably helped you get good results in your business too, right? With your farming, the more you taught it.
Of course, because I couldn't stand up there and say that I did things that I didn't actually do.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course. And I can't emphasize enough here that no matter who you are, your comfort level with speaking, are you introverted? Are you extroverted? It's really all about the reps. My husband, Jay, I would consider him a world-class professional speaker. He's been paid tens of thousands of dollars to come and speak for 30 minutes. And the first time that he ever got up on stage with Gary, it was bad. It was real bad. It was kind of last minute. Gary Keller had decided to make a switch and contacted Jay, I don't even know, super late the night before the vision speech. And Jay was frankly terrified. And he will tell you that it was uncomfortable. It was messy. It was awkward. I know people that were watching him. And it didn't stop him from getting up there and doing it again and over and over and over. And here we are, I don't even know, 20 years later, whatever that looks like. And Jay gets paid very well to speak.
I think I've told this story before, but if not, I went to film school, and part of film school is everybody does everything. And so you may be an editor, but you're also going to be in the movie because you got to have somebody to be in the movie. And so for probably 6 or 7 years, I was having to be in front of the camera, and I was horrible. Like, people were like, all right, anybody but Tiffany, please. Like,
ABT.
I'll do double parts. Just so that Tiffany is not in this because she is the worst. Yeah.
Oh, that surprises me.
that's the thing but then it was just rep after rep after rep. And now I could get in front of the camera and act no problem because I've done it enough times. I can speak on a stage impromptu much better because I've done it so many times. So to that point, like the people you look at who you say, oh man, they're great at this. I could never be that good. Have gotten laughed off their first stage and please don't be in any of these videos. Like it doesn't start the way it looks right now. And don't forget that for yourself.
Yes. And ironically, people who are like kind of good and kind of comfortable in front of people speaking, they don't always take their speaking to the next level. They rely on their sort of entrepreneurial ability. And I find that people who are less comfortable up there, they're going to prepare more and they're actually going to deliver the content in a much better way. So just something to think about as well. Yeah. Well, so how do we make money? We've done all this. We put our reps in, and how do we get paid for this?
So the first thing that I say is everything you're doing, you're getting paid. You're getting paid in the reps. You're getting paid in the experience. And the first thing that people should pay you, quote unquote, in my opinion, is with reviews and quotes of impact. So anytime you speak, you need to ask for feedback or some sort of response at the end so that you have reviews for the next time. Number one, you want to read them to get better, but you also want to have quotes of how their business was changed after hearing you speak, or, follow up and get paid in those things, because you can turn that proof of concept and those quotes and reviews into actual dollars when you can prove this is a valuable class that I have to offer.
That's so smart.
That goes on your speaker hot sheet, one page, like where you break down I had the farming class, and then I had a kind of a big life workshop class that was a full day experience. And so I would break down what was it that I was going to be teaching, and I would scatter a couple of quotes that I'd gotten from previous people who had heard me speak with real dollar amounts in it or real stats of how their life or business was better. And then that would be a part of what I sent out on, all right, here's my fee. Here's your two options of the different ways I can teach this class. Here's how you book me, that sort of thing.
I love that.
So start there. And then you go to, all right, what is my fee going to be? Wendy, how did you figure out your first fee?
Well, I think the first time I quote unquote got paid to speak, I probably just got my expenses paid. That'd be my guess. Probably a lot of times those first few years, I just got my flight, hotel, meal reimbursement, which was fine for me. I didn't need to get paid for my time. I just wanted to get paid for my expenses. And then I just asked around. So I know that sounds kind of weird, but I am a part of Keller Williams University. And I think when I first started, the daily speaking rate was like about $1,500. I think it's gone up a bit since then. But whatever you feel comfortable with, I would aim high, though.
I would agree.
Yeah. I think if you start too low, there's always room to negotiate down. You can't go back and negotiate up. So I would say typical speaking fees range from, you've got like a Tony Robbins, right? Who's going to come and speak for a couple hours, and he's going to probably be $250,000, something like that, for 2 hours. And then you've got like a Mel Robbins, who's probably $100,000, something like that. And then you've got maybe like a Sahil Bloom, who might be $25,000. And then I know I'm charging about $3,000 a day plus expenses. And a lot of people charge more than that. So it just depends on what you're going to get out of it and what you feel like your time is worth. And, for me, every time I go speak somewhere, I get at least, 50 names in my database. I get referrals almost immediately. I would say every time I teach, I almost immediately get a referral, which for us would be a minimum of $15,000. So there's a lot of ways to think about it. And then if you can get your speaking recorded, you can use all of that to create what I think everyone should do, which is kind of like a personal website. If you're going to be doing speaking, you need to have a personal website. If you've got your name as your URL, that's ideal. If not, whatever that URL looks like. And then on that website, you've got some videos of yourself speaking, because that's what people want to see. And it needs to be professional video. Maybe not a professional doing it, but like professional quality video of you speaking. And there needs to be some photos there, and they need to see how big the audience is. And I would say that would be an interesting, good place to start.
Yeah. And when you say good video, it's counterintuitive, but actually good audio is good video. And so like you need to be wearing a mic to the camera, not just a mic to the room.
Yeah.
Little things like that will make your video appear more professional, even though it's filmed on an iPhone, which basically has a better camera than I had when I was actually professionally shooting documentaries.
Oh, yeah. I just got an iPhone 17 and the camera is unbelievable. It's truly
it's insane.
Extraordinary. And you can buy a little lapel microphone recorder, very cost efficient these days to buy all of that equipment, and then just get somebody who can help film you for part of your speaking or for all of your speaking. And I would also recommend you watch your video.
Every time. Yes.
Yep. I know when I first started listening to myself on this podcast, it's incredibly painful. You don't want to listen to it. And it's so good for you to do, because you have to almost be outside of your head when you're speaking and to really deliver what needs to be delivered. And recently I just hired a speaking coach. And I've been speaking for years. I was a competitive debater in high school and in college.
Oh, I can totally see that.
Yeah. I won. I was a state champion actually in speech in high school.
In speech or debate?
Speech.
Oh.
I won many debate tournaments also. I was a Lincoln Douglas debater.
Means you've learned to talk at such a fast level because you got to get all that information in and da, da, da.
Yeah. LD debate, Lincoln Douglas debate.
But yeah, listening to yourself is huge. You'll hear the the things that you subconsciously do in your speaking that you can eliminate, because it's impossible to listen to yourself and talk at the same time. So you have to do the very painful work of listening to yourself.
And if you want to go outside of kind of your industry, consider a speakers bureau. There could be opportunities in your city. There could be opportunities statewide. So there's tons of speaker bureaus. We can't even list them all here, but you've got speakers bureau for this kind of content. You've got local speakers bureaus. You've got state speakers bureaus. And so just do your research and throw your name out there. I mean, you never know what will hit, but it's really just about putting yourself out there and asking. So
yeah.
I
just had a thought of another. This would be when you're getting your reps, but Rotary, the Rotary Club, I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's a nonprofit. They have a speaker come every week. Like they have to procure a interesting speaker that can talk about the community or some part of the community every week. And I know my dad was at Rotary, and when he served on the getting speakers committee or whatever, it's a lot of work. So reach out to the Rotary Club in your community, because they are looking for speakers every week, and you can just talk about the market, talk about what's happening, something interesting in your industry.
I love that. Yeah. And Toastmasters, if you want to get your reps in, that's a way to get better at speaking. And then really, it's really just about getting the reps. So, think big, act small is what the one thing tells us. Book a 20-minute meeting in your class. Teach one thing that you're already doing and want to get better at. Send 5 emails to other offices, either in your city, in your state, or somewhere where you want to go. And don't wait, don't wait till someday. Do it this week. Stop waiting to be a speaker and just go out there and act like one.
I love it. Well, if this episode has been helpful to you, we would really appreciate a 5-star review, or share it with the person who wants to start getting paid to speak. You would be doing us a favor and them a favor if you share this episode. And we are so grateful to have you here. And I want to remind you all to go out and build your big businesses, even if it's a speaking business, but your even bigger lives. Have a great week.
Bye, y'all.
This podcast is for general informational purposes only. The views, thoughts, and opinions of the guest represent those of the guest and not Keller Williams Realty LLC and its affiliates, and should not be construed as financial, economic, legal, tax, or other advice. This podcast is provided without any warranty or guarantee of its accuracy, completeness, timeliness, or results from using the information.